Alright, yo, what's back, guys? Welcome to another video. I'm gonna be reacting to Zack D films TikToks, as you can see. So I'm gonna set me right over there. Let's get to it.
If we turned the entire ocean into jello, what would happen if an asteroid hit it? Well, a normal ocean could produce a deadly tsunami. But since jello is mostly water, the energy would tear through it, breaking...
Hold on. So first, this will never happen. Second, if it was a small asteroid, it would just burn up in the atmosphere. So, I don't know what you're talking about, Zach.
it up into chunky waves. These waves would pile onto the coast, covering streets and buildings. You see, the real danger isn't the impact, it's getting caught in it. Because once you're trapped, you would just slowly suffocate.
Why is that girl's head, like, facing the other way? Why? Is she like some sort of alien? Why?
Inside the jello. If we turned the entire ocean...
Alright, alright, that's that's never gonna happen. And why was the lady's head facing the other way? Why? But anyways, next video.
They pulled the Cheeto out of the bag and realized it was shaped almost exactly like a Charizard. Eventually, it went viral online, so it was carefully placed on a custom Pokemon card, stored inside a display case, and then put up for bidding at $250. As more and more bids appeared, the price climbed higher. Finally, it was bought for almost $90,000, over 20,000 times its original price, which earned it a Guinness World Record. They pulled the Cheeto.
Well, first, I'm not really a Pokemon fan. Sorry for my Pokemon fans that watch my channel, but I like Cheetos, but I don't like spicy Cheetos. So yeah, but I'm gonna go do something real quick, so I'm gonna pause the video. Alright, so next video.
If you ripped off the screen at a movie theater, stretched it over a giant sink, and poured a pot of pasta over it, the water would fall through the screen and into the sink below, acting like a strainer. You see, most movie theaters put their speakers at the front of each room, hiding it behind the screen. But normal screens would block the sound, so these are covered with thousands of tiny holes, which let the sound flow out through the screen as if it's coming from the characters themselves. If you ripped off the screen...
See, that's, like, first of all, where would you find a giant sink? Second of all, where would you find giant pasta and a giant bowl? And you need a lot of people to rip off that screen. But anyways, next video.
They cut his thigh bone into 2 pieces, screwed in a special metal rod along his bone, secured it with pins, and sewed the wound back up. You see, he was born with one leg shorter than the other. But after the surgery, the boy used a special remote to rotate the gears inside. It would extend the rod just a little bit every day. This slowly stretched the 2 ends of his bones apart. And as the gaps slowly opened, his body filled it in with more bone. And after several months, his leg was longer than before. They cut his...
See, that's why doctors are awesome and do stuff like that for people that have disabilities. So, I don't know why some people are scared of the doctors. Just don't be scared of the doctors. They help you. And they help you live. So... just always trust your doctors. If they seem weird looking and you're uncomfortable, just notify them or notify the front desk. But anyways, next video, 1.2 million views.
Slide your bread into the decorative metal cage, then swing it shut against the glowing center coil. As the wire heats up, it toasts the inner face. And once that side turns golden, just press the button on the side, which releases a spring-loaded hinge, and the cage swings outward, away from the heat, spinning the bread all the way around and letting the pale, untoasted side face the coil. But since the heated coil was completely exposed, well, just one slip could sear your fingers. Slide your bread.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, this was a toaster from 1929. It says it in the title at the bottom. I mean, I don't know, like, where you would find, like, something like that now. So, yeah. Anyways, next video.
When the ant falls into the sand pit, a hidden ant lion is usually waiting underneath the loose sand. And as the ant tries to climb out, the walls collapse beneath its feet, sliding it closer and closer to the predator. But then the ant lowers its giant jaws against the ground. The jaws tense up like loaded springs before snapping shut at an incredible speed. The impact is so powerful that it launches the ant straight into the air. And if the jump sends it high enough, the ant can blast completely out of the pit. When the ant falls in...
Oh my goodness. Ants, especially like this one, are powerful. Like, I've seen a video of someone getting bit by one of those, and it hurt them a lot. But anyways, next video, 3.6 million views.
Lightly lick your left ring finger and slide it against the soft webbing between your right index and middle finger, lining them up at the same height. Next, straighten out your ring finger and tuck the rest of your left hand underneath your right. Then bring your hands up to your mouth and close your lips into an O, lining up the center with the nail of your left ring finger. After that, press your ring finger into the webbing to slowly create tension. And when you flick your finger outwards, it pops free from the webbing, sending the sound into your mouth and letting you do a pop whistle. Lightly lick.
Oh, and I'm gonna try that real quick. So, what do you do?
Your left ring finger and slide it against the soft webbing between your right index and middle finger, lining them up at the same height. Next, straighten out your ring finger and tuck the rest of your left hand underneath your right. Then bring your hands up to your mouth and close your lips into an O, lining up the center with the nail of your left ring finger. After that, press your ring finger into the webbing to slowly create tension. And when you flick your finger outwards, it pops free from the webbing, sending the sound into your mouth and letting you do a pop whistle. Lightly...
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do this, though. It's easy.
Lick, he threw the rock at the seal, just barely missing its head, and locals yelled at him, telling him it was endangered and that he'd have to pay a huge fine. But the tourist just shrugged, saying he was rich, so he didn't care. But when a local man heard about it, he found the tourist and beat the heck out of him. Now, nobody reported it, but someone did film the attack. And instead of punishing the man, the local senator wrote an official letter of recognition, thanking the attacker for teaching the tourist a lesson. He threw the rock.
For those people that do bad stuff out there, karma's waiting for you. Karma's waiting for you somewhere. I'm telling you, karma's waiting for you somewhere. So, just don't do bad stuff anymore. Do good stuff, okay? Alright, next video.
If you dumped resin over a Big Mac and hardened it into a block...
Oh my god. Whoa. Who would do this? Who in the earth would do this? I mean, it says preserved Big Mac at the top, so maybe. I don't know. Let's see. Oh.
If you dumped resin... The resin would stop any germs from coming in, so mold wouldn't grow as easily. And after 250 years, if you sawed it open, you might think you could eat a perfectly preserved burger. But after several decades, the trapped moisture inside would slowly make the burger fall apart, while the fats would start to stink. And if there was bacteria on the food, it could leave behind dangerous toxins over time, meaning you would probably just throw up. If you dumped resin over a...
See, in 250 years, people are going to forget about this, so I don't know why people would do that. But next video.
If you shine a green, red, and blue light, each color will stimulate a different set of cones in the back of your eye. And when all three are triggered at once, your brain will be tricked into seeing white light where the beams overlap. Now, if you place a board with a slit in front of the wall, it will split the white light back into 3 colored stripes, since each light comes from a slightly different position. But if something blocks part of the light, it creates 3 colored shadows, because from each angle, one color gets blocked, while the other 2 keep mixing. Block blue and red plus green makes yellow. Block green and red plus blue makes magenta. Block red and green plus blue makes cyan. If you shine a green, roll a piece of paper into a foot-long tube and hold it to your right eye, while touching the side of your left hand halfway up the side.
It'll look like there's a hole in your eye
Of the tube. Now, when you look into the distance with both eyes, you'll see a hole form right in the middle of your hand. This is because each eye sees at a slightly different angle, and your brain puts those 2 images together. So when you're looking at something normally, you don't notice it's actually 2 separate pictures. But when each eye has a completely different image, your brain tries to blend them together, making the circular view through the tube overlap your hand. Roll a piece of paper. If you ate a firefly, would it...
But first,
roll a piece of...
about this video, it's cool. I've done it before. I did it on Halloween. It's cool. So I'm gonna give it a like.
If you ate a firefly, would it light up in your stomach? And how many would you have to eat in order for you to glow? Well, inside a firefly's body, special chemicals mix with oxygen to create that familiar glow. And to match your body weight, you would need to eat around 53,000 of them. But since your stomach is full of acid, there's no oxygen to react with. And the chemicals would just be digested. Even if they stayed intact, your body isn't built to activate them. And since they're toxic, you would actually just end up poisoning yourself. If you ate a...
First of all, who would ever do this? Second of all, how do you know this?
If the fabric gets pinched between its jaws, it can also block the teeth from meshing. So you might just yank on it, but this can make the snag worse and bend the teeth. Instead, pull the fabric out slowly with your fingers, then gently slide the zipper. If it still sticks, rub a pencil over the teeth, then straighten out any bent prongs, and the zipper will glide again. If the fabric gets pinched between its jaws...
I did not know that. But next time that happens, I'll try it.
She dropped her chicken nugget, and a crow swooped in to grab it. Soon the birds were watching her, hoping for another bite. So she started feeding them peanuts and dog food. And one day, she found a small earring on the empty feeder. Then a polished rock. Then a tiny piece of metal stamped with the word best. The crows were leaving her gifts. And while she kept filling the feeder each day, the birds started lingering nearby. Then one day, her mom lost a lens cap in an alley. But soon, a crow dropped it into the bird bath, then left it sitting on the edge, freshly rinsed. She dropped her chicken...
So, crows are one of the smartest animals. So that's why I probably did this. Because I've seen a video. Shout out Mark Rober, because it was one of his videos. Crows are one of the smartest birds ever. But, next video.
Say the word boots out loud. Boots. Now push the B as hard as you can.
Boots.
Boots. Then drop your voice, leaving only the B sound. Boot. Next, pick any T word like time and hit the T nice and sharp. Time. Drop your voice again until only the T is left. T. Finally, say cats with a strong C. Cats. Drop your voice one more time, leaving only the C. K. Now loop all three together. Say the word.
It's easy. I've known that for a long time.
His hand was pulled into the grinder, cutting off most of his index finger. And as it was healing, he broke his middle finger, leaving it severely bent. But the boy still wanted to play baseball. So after it healed again, he learned to grip the baseball with the stump tucked underneath, while holding it tightly with his crooked middle finger. This put extra pressure on the ball, and when he let go, it spun rapidly in the air, while curving downward. This made it extremely difficult to hit, and he became one of the best pitchers of all time with only 3 normal fingers. His hand was pulled and
First of all, if we skip to the end real quick.
And he became one of the best pitchers.
He's not aligned on the mound right. He's not. Why? Why? Why, Zack D Films? Why? But anyways, next video.
It rolls back its eyes right as it approaches the seal, leaving only hard cartilage in the eye sockets. But with its eyes facing backwards, it can't see, so it has to use smell and hearing instead. At the same time, nerves in its snout sense tiny electrical signals from the seal. Now, the moment it strikes, the seal fights back, thrashing and clawing at the shark. But since its eyes are protected, they stay safe until the struggle is over. It rolls back.
This is why I don't. This is why I like not living in the sea. But, anyways, next video.
If you want to yo-yo, it rolls.
Hold on. Why did I say I don't like living in the sea? I have never lived in the sea. I'm not SpongeBob, okay? But, anyways, this is why I wish, I was never an animal that lived in the sea. But anyways, next video.
If you want to yo-yo down a skyscraper, well, the yo-yo would need to scale up to about 50 feet across, just to accommodate all that string. And at that size, it would weigh as much as 36 semi-trucks, meaning to pull it back up, well, your arm would need to be 65 feet thick. But the second that house-sized yo-yo tries to reverse, the rope gets hit with all that force at once. It snaps and sends the disc on a rampage through the city. If you want to yo-yo...
Who would ever do this? Who would ever do this? Probably a yo-yo master. No, not master. A wannabe yo-yo master. But anyways, next.
If you take a quarter and show it to an alien like this, they might assume it's just a circle with a face on it. But if you rotate the coin like this and show a different alien, he might think it's just a thin line. Now, the two aliens start arguing about what it is. But the problem is that they're both seeing something real. They're just not seeing the whole truth. If they stopped arguing and actually listened, they might realize their observations aren't contradicting each other. They each have a piece of the puzzle, which is how they get closer to the actual truth. If you take a quarter and show it...
First of all, aliens are probably going to arrive in like 2100, so yeah.
If you sucked up all the gold ever mined, from giant gold reserves to secret jewelry boxes, combined it all together and melted it down to make one statue, you might think it could be taller than Mount Everest. But even though there's almost 500 million pounds of gold in the world, that's actually only enough to fit inside a 6-story building. Now, if you included all of the gold still buried underground, they would fill another 6-story building. And if you combined it all together and melted it down, you could craft a statue about 2 times the size of the Statue of Liberty. If you...
Statue of Liberty too? Maybe? I don't know.
He took care of the chimp when she arrived at the zoo, and she learned to trust him over time. Even if she was on the complete other side of the enclosure, she would run over excitedly just to say hello. But he eventually retired, and years later, the chimp's health got worse. She even became too tired to eat, and when the researcher came to visit her, she could barely move. But after hearing his voice, she grinned before giving him a long hug. And after seeing her old friend one final time, she finally passed away just a week later. He took...
Rest in peace, Chimpy. I'm liking that video for sure, bro. Let's look at the comments. Who else remembers? Oh, it has a real picture.
Care of the chimp when she arrived at the zoo.
Oh my goodness, there's a real picture of it. You know what, the chimp? They're just humans with bigger to small differences. And he never came to visit. That's true. How does bro not have this? Yeah. Who thinks this is sad? All of us. True. What kind of post did you mean to comment on? Finally, I got to use this sticker. How does that make sense? Anyways, this will, let's see how many videos we have left. We'll do 5 more videos, and then that'll be the end of this video. Okay, next.
Order a Big Mac, a McChicken, and a fillet of fish, and pull out the meat from all 3 sandwiches. Next, place the Big Mac patties on a bottom bun to represent land animals. Place the McChicken patty over it to represent air animals, and top it off with the fillet of fish to represent the sea. After that, place the top bun back on to get the land, air, and sea burger. But all those flavors will clash together, meaning it'll probably just taste like regret. Order a...
There's only all of those burgers I like separately, but probably together I would not. I love fillet of fishes. Just so, yeah. Next.
If we flew a giant magnet next to an asteroid, it would rip off the pieces with the most metal, then capture them one by one. But every rock it captures makes the spacecraft heavier, giving it more gravity. Now that gravity would be weak, but if the spacecraft stayed beside the asteroid long enough, it would keep pulling on it from one side. And over time, that little tug could slowly change the asteroid's path, causing it to miss Earth. If we flew a giant...
He says, if so. That will never happen. But, next video.
You're a detective, and you find an old man dead in his recliner.
I've seen this video before.
The neighbor called it in, said the front door had been open for days. The coroner says it was heart failure, but you notice his fingernails have faint white banding. The toks report came back positive for arsenic, enough to kill slowly over weeks, mimicking heart failure perfectly. You want to check his water, but you can't find the well. You ask the neighbor if he knows where it is, but he says he barely even knew the guy. You drive to the next property to ask another neighbor, but there's no one there. You try the next one, same thing. Every lot on this ridge is empty. So you search yourself, and 40 yards past the tree line, hidden in the brush, you find it. And beside it, you see boot prints in the mud. It looks like size 13. The old man wore 9s. Inside the shaft, you find a slow-dissolving arsenic compound designed to poison every glass of water he drank. You pull the property records of this area, and suddenly those empty plots make sense. That one neighbor owns all of them. He had bought every lot on this ridge except the old man's, who was the last holdout. You go back to the neighbor to ask a few more questions and notice a pair of big muddy boots sitting on the porch. You're a detective.
Let me see the comments. He killed the he killed the old man so he could own his property and take the whole ridge. Yes. Well. Oh my goodness. Next video. 2 left.
When they tried to sell coffee in Japan, it did not work because the people there grew up drinking tea.
We'll do 3 more after this.
They had no connection to coffee, so it didn't sell. Now, according to the story, one company got creative and created coffee-flavored jellies and chocolate bars and marketed them to kids. They soon developed a taste for it, giving them strong childhood memories of the coffee flavor. Years later, this same company tried selling coffee again, but this time it worked. Those kids had grown up into adults and already had a taste for coffee. When they tried...
That's why most adults love coffee. Nestle, bring this back. Alright, next video.
Hundreds of pipes are buried in the concrete floor below the ice rink. They constantly pump an extremely cold liquid through them, which keeps the ice frozen. But once the season ends, warm liquid starts flowing through those same pipes instead. Now the ice sheet begins melting from the bottom up. Then machines break apart and scrape away the melting ice until the entire rink disappears.
So they don't actually scrape away the ice, they wait for it to melt all the way, and then they use Zambonis they use Zambonis before it all melts. Who cares? Anyways.
As they said, hundreds of pipes are buried in the concrete floor. Now the ice sheet begins melting from the bottom up. Then machines scrape away the melting ice until the entire rink disappears as they set up for the next event. Hundreds of...
Yep, that last part's true.
One evening, she noticed the attic hatch hanging open in her apartment. She closed it and didn't think much of it until later that night when she heard footsteps above her. She told her friends, but they said it was just in her head. So she saw a doctor and told him what was going on. He put her on drugs, which left her drowsy and numb, but the footsteps never stopped. Then, one evening, the hatch opened above her. A man was staring right at her. She ran downstairs screaming for help and called the police. They found him living among piles of bags, and her neighbor had known all along and was helping the man. One evening...
That's just creepy. I hope when I'm an adult and I move out, I hope that never happens. But anyways, next.
You wake up and find your mom frozen mid-flip on a pancake. That's weird. Outside, your neighbor's frozen too. Birds hang in the air. Then you see a plane nosediving into the ground. Cars are crashing. You run over and shake your neighbor, and he drops flat to the ground. And then you trip over him. Your arm is broken. The drive to the hospital feels like a horror scene. But once you're there, every doctor and nurse is frozen. No one can help you. And then it hits you. Soon, power plants will stop working. The water will stop. Groceries will run out. Soon, it's all going to stop, and you're the only one left to deal with it.
That's creepy. But that was the last video. So
if we turn the entire ocean into...
I hope you guys enjoyed the video. It would be my first reacting video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. So that'll be it for today. I hope you have a great day. God bless. See you in the next one. Wait, hold on. Let me do something. Alright, see you in the next one. God bless. Have a great day. Like and sub as well.